mai, haere mai, e te whānau. Welcome to the Flight of the Next podcast. I'm Holly on Gadigal Land in Sydney, as is Danny. Erin is in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, and Alex is in Te Whanganui a Tara, Wellington. 2 losses to discuss this week, which is a bit depressing. We will start with the men in the rain at the graveyard. That is Amy Park against Melbourne Victory. A 1-0 loss. I think we set up to defend. We defended actually generally quite well. With the number of defenders we had on the park, it's perhaps not so surprising. We really lost to a moment of absolute quality. 57th minute, there's a counter. Santos puts in a beautiful absolute pinpoint cross. Virgos heads it past LB. Not much that can happen with there. I think the other sort of the positive talking point for that was Roofs was back, subbed on in the 68. We were immediately better with him, absolutely immediately better with him. He did make a couple of mistakes, but otherwise he didn't even have to touch the ball and we played better with him. So, yeah, a little bit disappointing in the result, but I mean, I'm not that surprised. Who wants to start?
So I didn't see this game live. I had to watch it on delay. Couldn't catch it on the Friday night, so I watched it Saturday morning, having got myself off social media, so I didn't know the result. And I ended up watching it on my screen on a not brilliant internet connection, so it was all sort of 10 small screen, 10 blobs of yellow against 10 blobs of navy blue. And pretty much halfway through it, I just thought, if I'd have just got onto an AI program and said, show me a game between Wellington Phoenix and Melbourne Victory at Amy Park, this is what it would have shown me. It was utterly predictable about what was going to happen. Phoenix were going to set up in a low block with 8 men behind the ball all the time. They're going to defend really well. They will have absolutely no attacking movements whatsoever for the first 50, 60 minutes. Victory will huff and puff and probably not have too many chances. Shots from outside the box will go over the bar. Nothing much will happen. And then Victory will score because of probably a mistake. And then late on, the Phoenix will actually try and do some attacking and maybe have a couple of efforts, maybe one good enough that we can say, well, if it wasn't for that save, we might have got a point. But otherwise, I've seen this game so many times at Amy Park. Just so many times. I feel so sorry for the Vic Nix guys who go along there and have been going along with the past 10 years, seeing the same game over and over again, which is utterly unentertaining from a Phoenix point of view because we just really didn't attack at all. We definitely didn't attack until we brought subs on in 70 minutes. Roofer was one, Walker was another. And then we had a couple of chances. But until then, oh boy, it was boring. Probably boring for the Victory fans as well because they didn't get many chances. And it was I've seen it all before too many times and it just wasn't entertaining. And I get the reason why we set up in such a defensive manner, looking at our history, although I can talk about that as well. But yeah, God, it was a tough watch. I didn't enjoy it. Yes, we defended well. We normally do. We still lost because we were set up to defend completely and didn't even try. We had no real chance of coming back and getting a win. You know, we'd have been very lucky to get a point, and we didn't even get that. So, not a great watch for me, I have to say. Sorry, depressing.
I actually don't mind the massive defensive setup because I think you just have to look at, our previous 10 games. I think we've only won, I saw somewhere online that we've only won 2 games since like December or something. Like we're in horrible form at the moment. And I think if you go out there and try to win that game, you probably get, dicked 3 or 4-0. So Chief is kind of he's kind of constricted with what he can do tactically, and I think you kind of have to set up defensively in a game like that. And especially at Amy Park, everything's kind of, times 10 when it comes to the form there. And I think, in other seasons, probably last season, we would have scored, Kos had a great chance against Langerak, and, it's kind of just luck of the draw. Whoever comes out on top there, the cross was brilliant from Tim Payne. It's good to have him and Rufa back. But apart from that, there wasn't much attacking going on. But, that's kind of aligns with what we've seen in other games. I don't think anything different happened in this game. You talk about Rufer and how much of a difference he made. I think, he kind of does the work of two players in the midfield, and then he allows our other midfielders like Nagasawa and whoever else is in there to push up further and kind of receive the ball further up the pitch. And then that kind of forces the opposition press to kind of spread out in the midfield so they aren't only focused on our sixes, and then it's kind of easier for us to play out. But, apart from that, I mean, I'm just kind of grasping at straws really for positives here. Roof is good to have that.
Pay rise to whoever put together that highlights package, because it was grim. I was like, I should probably watch it before we film this, and then in about 10 seconds it was all over, and I was like, oh well, maybe I could watch it again. I think there was only one highlight from the first half, and that was Piscopo shooting it over the bar or something, and then it was just victory for the second half, and then I think maybe one shot from us. Wasn't great, but you could see as soon as Rufer got back on the pitch, the intensity just kind of shifted. Just him being there, and I think just his leadership really changes the team, and so we've been greatly missing it over the past however many weeks that he's been out, and hopefully he just gets back to full fitness soon and we can just have him for the full 90 minutes, because that would make a huge difference. But other than that, maybe see more of Luke Brooksmith. I think he comes on and he kind of adds something kind of fun. He's willing to just kind of take on defenders and try to create something, and he did a really good play where he basically beat his player and then took a shot to the far post, and it kind of just went wide, and it just kind of come on, and that was more than what anyone else had done the whole entire game. So that was good to see, and kind of want to see him come on and do a bit more, because we're not scoring goals anyway, so we might as well get a young guy on to see what he can do. But I think we conceded that goal because we just kind of stopped playing. We lost the ball and they just kind of gave up. And then Victory just ran it right through and put the cross on a platter for the header. What I do want to talk about, though, is the goal celebration for that. When you're scoring at 60 minutes and you're taking your shirt off and you've got your little sports tracker bra on, it's just negative aura there. You just look ridiculous. It's not like it's a derby game. It's not like it's anything that big. You're playing 10th of the table Wellington Phoenix. Get a life, man. Oh, I think that they should have just lost goals from that.
I hear with the highlights. I rewatched the sort of the mini match that the Paramount have today, and when they're showing 30 seconds of Corbin Piper putting his boot back on, they're really struggling to fill their time. It was tough. I want to push back a bit on the idea that we had to go that defensively. I don't think we necessarily had to. I understand why we did, and Chief's first job is not to lose. As fans, we actually want a bit of entertainment as well. But we saw when we brought the substitutions on, the free on, Rufer, okay, you can start, but we brought the Brooks Smith on and we brought Walker on. We immediately looked better and we immediately started attacking and getting in there. Now, we loosened up at the other end a little bit as well. But the idea that we couldn't attack against this Victory side, I don't think is correct. And I think this whole bogey thing about Amy Park is I think it's not healthy for us, not good as a team. Last weekend, sorry to digress a little bit, but last weekend my team in the UK, Bradford City, played Harrogate Town. Now, Harrogate Town are a very small club. We've only been in the league 5 years. In the 10 times Bradford have played, and we've lost 7 times, drawn twice, won once. They are the epitome of a bogey team. And a journalist asked the Bradford manager before the game, saying, how are you going to approach this, Harrogate being your bogey team? He said, I don't subscribe to the idea of a bogey team. If you think that, you've got a weak mentality. You should only play the team that's in front of you at that moment. You don't play any past results. You don't play how you've done in the past. You don't play the past ground. You look at the team in front of you and you play it against that team. And this Victory team is not a particularly great Victory side. They're not as good as they were last year. We've already beaten them this season away from home, and yet we put 7-8 defenders on and did the whole, okay, let's sit back for 90 minutes. I don't think if we would have gone to Western United, would have played like that. I don't think if we'd gone to Western Sydney, would have played like that. And these are teams on a level with Victory. And I think we're letting that Amy Park hoodoo dictate how we play against them, and I think that has held us back. Yes, we could have got away with a point there, possibly, because we are very good at defending. But I don't think that's the way to approach it. I think it is a bit of a weak mentality, a bit of a defeatist approach to go up to someone like Victory, who, aren't that great. They're a team we should be looking to get a result against, and defending like that. You could understand it if you went up to Derby next week against Auckland because they're top of the table and flying and going, okay, we just got to sit back. But I don't think we should do it against Victory just because it's at Amy Park, which is apparently an unlucky ground.
It was an interesting stat displayed at half time, and once I added up the second half as well, we've had 84 shots in total this season as a team, and it's by far the lowest. So that's, and we are just setting up that way. But then if we hadn't been so defensive, then maybe we could have shipped 3 or 4 or 5. Victory are a very, very good team. I do feel for Vicnic. We have one in Melbourne outside of Amy, right? Like it is doable, but really you need to go out to like Geelong or something like that for that to happen. Yeah, 80, 85, 84 shots all season. How are we feeling about the new guy? Apparently he will be ready for the derby, which we will discuss. I would like to think that he plays well and he picks up the rest of our season.
I mean, his pedigree is pretty good. He's played at a decent level. He's supposed to be a technical player. He's supposed to be in the position that we need. So, fingers crossed, he'll do well. Phoenix have a really good record of getting good foreigners who do play, although they sometimes do take a few games to get up to speed with the league, and we haven't really got a few games for him to do that. But yeah, look, hopefully with him coming in, and again, you can hold the bargaining thing up again, and Rufa coming back into fitness, we should be becoming better. We should be becoming better, and we have been improving slightly since sort of the real downside. We started to build a bit on our attacking formations, which I was a bit disappointed we went back to a fully defensive one this one, because I thought we'd started to improve bit by bit, and I was hoping we'd still work on that this game. So if he works, if he's as good as he could be, and Rufa's back, and Rufa's sort of back to fitness, can play most of the game, then, we'll be better, and we should be creating more chances. And, we know if you create chances, Barbarouses will score them.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. I think it's easy to kind of look at his pedigree and say, oh, he won't be good for us, or not pedigree, kind of stats in terms of like goals and assists, because he basically hasn't really scored or assisted much throughout his career. But players like that kind of typically do well at the Phoenix. I think Oscar Zavada didn't have the greatest stats, and a lot of people looking at his Wikipedia page and saying, oh, he'll flop at the Phoenix. But in hindsight, maybe the reason for that was that he was so injury prone and kind of just got minutes off the bench at his old clubs. And I think Chiefy kind of, I like the line that Chiefy said he was way above the terms, the kind of player he thought he would get in the window. And I don't know if how true that is, or how much that's just for the media. But I think, a technical player like that, someone who can kind of bridge the gap between the midfield and the attack, dribble, kind of, at the moment, we get shut down at the 6th position, and if we get further quality players in the midfield, kind of that attacking midfield, it forces the opposition to redistribute their press, and I think it's always a positive getting a new player like that into this team, especially when we haven't been so good lately.
Well, let's chat JFC. So this is the last derby of the season. As we said the first time and the second time, we really need to win this. Auckland, with a billionaire owner and no salary cap this year, are absolutely just blazing everybody away. I'm sure we will have another good turnout. It is Saturday, 22nd of February. That's a 5 p.m. New Zealand time kickoff. It's away. A lot of feedback was given to the club, including by the fan rep group, about concerns about the experience of Phoenix fans in Auckland. A lot of people felt a little bit unsafe just because the bays weren't very well managed. That was a really particular concern. And also just the gates and getting from the gate to the bay and things like that. There has been a lot of feedback from that. So hopefully Auckland has learned some lessons on that one. How are we feeling about this final derby? Are we just going to get that kick, especially if Roofs is actually pulling up okay? What do we reckon?
I think Auckland FC will be licking their lips at us. They've been so good this season, and they've got a great press. Their kind of strengths align with our weaknesses, and it makes it really hard for us to play against them. I think, just to kind of feed into what I said before, the only way to get a result from them is, I think, just holding on until we can sub on Rufer and Chico or Francisco Giraldes, because I don't see them playing 90 minutes. I mean, to be fair, Rufer did make a big comeback for the first derby of the season. We thought he was going to be out, but I don't know how much of that was just like playing the cards to the media or if he was actually sick. I think if it wasn't a derby, I don't think either of them would play 90 minutes. But since it is a derby, maybe it warrants kind of taking a risk, especially because it's at the time of the season where we really need to turn our season around, and win against our rivals would be amazing. It would do just that. I mean, if you go on your form, I predict a loss, but for a derby, all form goes out the window, so you never really know.
Yeah, it's also unfortunate that Sam Sutton's out as well with his 5th yellow, so that's a bit of a blow for that side of the pitch. But yeah, Auckland, they just know how to win. They just pull goals out of anywhere. You can't really give them a chance to take a shot because they'll find a way to score it. And so, I think it's going to be a tough game, but it's going to be a fun game to watch regardless. And hopefully that we can just play well and not embarrass ourselves. That would be great.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually going over for it, and it'll be my first derby, so I'm quite excited to see it. And so I'm hoping for a good match. I'm sort of hoping we don't just sit back and hold on for 80 minutes and then try, attack in the last 10. I'm hoping we do go forward a bit, but it will be difficult. As you say, it'll depend on how much Rufer can play, and the new guy as well. But I'd like to think we would bring some of our attacking players on earlier or give them a bit of opportunity to run. Luke Brooks-Smith, I think, and Walker, although he's not been hugely effective, at least he stretches the game a little bit down the flanks. On paper, we will struggle to get anything out of this. But, look, again, fingers crossed, it's a derby. The players should be pumped up for it. And, if we got an early goal, perhaps, that would be very interesting. We'd probably sit back, but it might open up some spaces for us to attack onto it. So, look, fingers crossed. I'm hoping for an entertaining game anyway, whatever, because I think a dour 0-0 or 1-0 to Auckland won't do anybody any good. I think the Phoenix fans need some good news and a bit of respite. We haven't had much to cheer about in the past while. And I think if Auckland win all 3 derbies this season, that it's not a good narrative for the A-League in New Zealand. Because, if they steamroll away to Thailand, they beat Wellington 3 times, and it just gets a bit boring, really, even if we're not a Wellington fan.
Let's move on to the women then. So last night, relatively late for our New Zealand friends, fairly late even for us, over here in Sydney. Danny and I, the women, played Perth at the Sam Kerr Football Centre in Perth. We had a, I think, quite disappointing 2-1 loss. Player of the match was Flea. We didn't have Alyssa because of a concussion or concussion symptoms. No Maybar Tanaka again, which I'm not sure what's going on there, because she is actually someone who's really good to even be able to throw on with 15, 20 30 minutes to go. 32nd minute, Perth scored the first goal. Izzy Dalton, just sort of from the top of the box, she slips it in through. I don't know how late it is that Carolina sees it, but it just goes in. It's a really well-placed goal. We get one back in the 45th minute, so just at the end of half-time. Flea does a wonderful dribble up through, just ranging dribble, just goes wherever she wants. Slips in a ball, and Fergie manages to put it in the back of the net, which is great because she had actually missed a sitter in the 15th minute, which was a little bit frustrating. She just dragged it wide instead of maybe just taking a breath and getting it right on. 71st minute, another goal from Perth, which was heartbreaking. This one, Wynn sort of whips in this ball, this cross, and it sort of goes across the face of a number of players, defenders and attackers, and Tiana Jaber just gets a touch on it, and it's straight into the back of the net. I'm not too sure how much she could have done about that. When you're sprinting at full tilt and the ball just comes across and hits you and you're actually sprinting towards your own goal, it's really hard to do something with that ball. Really unfortunate, but it was a frustrating game. We're still 8th. At least we're still well placed for getting into finals, but I really wish that we had gotten at least something out of this, but Perth spoiling the party.
Yeah, it's a really disappointing result, I think. I thought the performance wasn't terrible. It was quite an entertaining game in that it was quite open. We had plenty of chances. Perth also had plenty of chances. But to not come away with any points, that's pretty disappointing. I mean, it could cost us. We're starting to get to a point where if you look back at all the games where we could have got a couple of points and see where we would have been on the table had we got those points, it's a lot further up. And if we don't start picking those points up soon, we're going to miss out on finals. And I think this team should be in finals, basically. I thought we played pretty well. I thought Ferguson had probably one of her best games for us. We've talked a lot about her not being particularly good as an attacking attacker, but better at defending attacker. But today she had something like 6-7 shots, scored one goal out of it, one miss, couple of half decent chances as well. So she was getting on the end of stuff. I thought we really missed Wynnum today because I think there seemed to be a lot of space going forward, and she's the kind of person who could pick those passes out to pick people, into the spots. And without her, it made it weird that we didn't have Tanaka, because Tanaka is probably the other person that could do that sort of thing and put these little passes in. So I think we lost out on that a little bit. Longo was excellent as ever. I thought Jale had one of her quieter games and wasn't effective as she could have been, and McCutcheon probably the same as well. She's not a good game for those two to be quiet. Until in the first half, the defence were passing it all over the place. I don't know what was happening there, but they gave away 2 or 3 chances to Perth, which is unlike them, that has to be said. Look, it's a game we probably should have won. Perth aren't that great a side. But I think the heat took a lot out of them. You couldn't really tell where they had their breaks. But from the 70th minute, even if we brought the subs on, we just didn't really create anything. And I think people were just gassed. They were just heated out. And once it got to that, we were never getting an equaliser. So disappointing. And we need to start picking up points. Luckily, I think we've got a few home games coming up, and maybe we'll do it then.
I think I agree with you about Ferguson having a good game, but I also think if she was clinical, we could have easily won that game. She probably had, she had that chance in the first half, which she sent wide, and then she had that header towards the end, which, I think she was relatively uncontested in the air. And if she got kind of good contact on that makes it 2-1. 3-2 if you include the first chance. I think if you kind of merge her and Mariana Speckmeyer's talents, you've got a perfect striker who totally wouldn't be playing in the A-League. About the own goal by Jaber, I'm actually not too disappointed by that. I think, she's trying to do the right thing. And in this scenario like that, you kind of just got to get anything on the ball to stop Kelly Brown, who's sneaking up behind her. Kelly Brown had a good game, by the way. It kind of makes you sad that she didn't perform when she was at the Knicks. But yeah, it's not like an own goal where the opposition sends in a cross and you're facing the complete wrong way and then it goes dunk off your head into the goal. It's kind of like a Michaela Moore own goal, just kind of unlucky. Not much you can do about it. But in terms of our defending overall, I think it was pretty woeful. And, Glory, if they were a better side, they would have been clear.
Yeah, I'm tired. Not only because the game ended at midnight, but because I'm just tired of us not finishing our chances when we have so many. It's just frustrating. I think I agree with what you guys are saying, that the back line probably, if we don't include that Western United game, one of the worst games for the season. I'd say they were just positionally all over the place. I think Perth just had free reign to run wherever they want. And they were also kind of last to the ball or second to the ball most of the time. And they were just passing it straight to their players who were just whipping it back in. And if, they were a better team and they didn't hit the post 4 times, it would have been quite a shocking loss for us, I think. And, I actually think Perth played better than they have been as well, which is saying something, seeming they still managed to knock a few off the bar. But yeah, I think Fergie did find herself in some good positions, but I think she should have had 4 goals this game. There are opportunities that I think, if we had probably Annalie Longo in those positions or Grace Jarley in those positions, they would have scored at least 2 or 3 of them. And even the goal she did score, she didn't really score it convincingly. I don't think she scored a goal this season where she hasn't fallen over after she's kicked it, which maybe she's, put herself in, maybe she's running at speed and she's just kind of getting to the ball and just, getting something on her, which is good. But, it's quite interesting. Maybe she just needs to be falling over more often and she'll get a couple more in. But yeah, it's just a bit frustrating to not win these ones. Right at the half, Elliot hit the post, the crossbar, I should say, which if that had gone in, I think it would have been a completely different game coming into that second half. And I think that, we could have taken all 3 points there. And so, I think we're disappointed with the results, but it was a good game. It was back and forth. We were making some good chances, but I think that something was going on with the back line there. And I think that they need to sort that out for 3 weeks' time or whenever we come back, and hopefully tidy it up a bit, and we should be back into the finals race.
Yeah, there was a lack of discipline at the back in some places. A lot of just passes that were wayward again, from people even that you're not necessarily expecting it from. We did tighten up when we came back from the halftime, so I don't know what Temps said to them. It must have worked, but that first goal, I know this is your favourite thing to talk about, Erin, but I feel like Liv Kelly drops, and that allows that Perth player that's run across the face and blocked out where you can see Izzy Dalton and taking the shot. Now, I don't know what was happening on the other side. Maybe there wasn't anyone there, but is it like positional stuff like that where it's just like if you don't focus on that couple of meters, then you're not available for the pass, or you're not making the right run, you're letting somebody else then be able to interfere with play. We can't afford to do it, I think is the thing. We can't afford to do it against better teams because they will punish us every time.
I was really looking forward to at the end when they brought Emma Main on and kept Ferguson on, because normally it's been 1-for-1, and so we had Main and Ferguson, and I was really interested to see the 2 of them play up front, because I've seen Ferguson's not really a scoring striker, whereas Emma Main is a goal scorer, and I was hoping to sort of get an idea of how those 2 could play together and whether that could be a starting formation. But we never really seemed to get the ball to them. As I say, this was sort of the last 20 minutes, and I think we were just so exhausted that we didn't really sort of get it forward. But I'm just wondering whether that would be a way to rectify the fact that, we create chances, but we don't score them. We know Ferguson's not going to score a lot, even when she gets a lot of chances, but we know she does good work around the front as well. So I'm just wondering, whether that's worth a try, putting Emma Main up there, because we know Emma Main can score goals with Ferguson, or whether that'll throw off the rest of the balance of the team.
Who are
think
you
worth a try.
pulling? Because they pulled Brazendale, which we were chasing the game, so that made more sense. But who do you pull?
I would probably pull Brazendale. I mean, she came into. I don't think she's a bad player at all. I think she's quite a decent central midfielder. But normally when she comes in, it's like, okay, so you'll do the defending and McCutcheon can push forward a little bit. That didn't really seem to happen very well this time. So I would say, okay, well, let's have McCutcheon sit back a little bit and take Brazendale off. I think McCutcheon is good enough to have that, defensive solidity in there because she's a good player. And then try Emma Main up front. I'm not sure it will work. It may be that Ferguson likes to play by herself, or she's better playing by herself. But I think we've got to start scoring goals, because we've missed out on so many points in the last 3 or 4 matches, not through not creating chances, not through playing well going up front, but just not putting our chances away. So we've got to fix it somehow. So we've got to try something, I think.
I reckon Elliot would be a better player to pull. I think Brazendale in midfield actually does quite a lot that goes unnoticed. Like she's pretty tidy, and she kind of is like the glue sometimes between the midfielders. I think if you add Wynnum in there, especially, I agree with you. I think that kind of combination with Main and Ferguson up front could be interesting. We haven't really seen it much this season. I wonder why.
Yeah, I think with Brazendale defensively as well, you can kind of have Longo push up a little bit more and be a bit more attacking, whereas sometimes if Alyssa Wynnum's on, Longo kind of has to do some of the defensive work as Alyssa's doing her fancy runs up the field. Longo's there to cover, and so, we did see, the best from Flea this game. She was basically creating all the chances and doing all the work, and so I think it's kind of a good sign that, you don't notice Brazendale too much. That means she's not doing anything too bad. She's just kind of putting in the work and doing her job well, which is good to see. I think one thing that I want to pick your brains on is the defensive line. Do we like Olivia Kelly in centre back, or should we push her out to fullback and keep Jaber in the middle? Because he's kind of shifted them around a bit. I think I prefer Tiana to be in the centre back. I think that she's better positionally. She's not leaving them on side, and she's also quite quick, so she can cover. I think Olivia Kelly has done quite well out on the wide, but Temple has seemed to be putting Olivia Kelly in the centre back for the past 3 or so games, and it's just been interesting to say.
I mean, I assume she's been playing centre back because she's tall, and just because she's tall. Because, like, when I see her, when I watch her play centre back, I see her as a liability, because her positional play with the other centre backs is like horrible, and it opens the door for opposition runs in behind so much, and basically renders our offside trap useless. I'd actually like to see her a bit higher up the field in a defensive midfield position. Problem is we've already got McCutcheon there and Brazendale, so it's kind of like who do you pull off if you push her up there? I think she could actually be quite useful there, because her defense splitting balls are really good, and then you don't have to worry about her keeping attackers offside, and then you still get her in the box, because when we're kind of defending a low line, defensive midfielders kind of just gravitate towards that box anyway. Fullback, I don't really see it, to be honest, because I mean, I think you've kind of got the same problem with the defensive line and the offside, and then you don't have her in the box so much for those crosses. So
yeah, I think Jaber's he's put Jaber out there because she does have the pace, because when we need recovery is when they're breaking down the wings often. And Kelly, I don't think is as fast, or isn't as fast as React. Jaber just seemed to be able to get back and get a tackle in from one of their wingers piling down their left. So I think that's why Jaber's playing out there. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe we switch to a 4 at the back instead of the 5. We'll see how that goes. It gives us a bit more options to play more in midfield.
Well, Tempt has got some time to have a think about and have a train with. So the next weekend, we've got the international break coming up. So 4 or 5 of the next players will be with the Ferns. T will be with Lebanon. I think that's the only players that would be missing. We'd have most of the squad, even if some of the more important ones are away. So it does give some opportunity to work on bits and pieces. You've got the whole 2 weeks instead of, as soon as one game's done, you're focusing on the next game. So there might be just a little bit more time to tweak some bits and pieces, even if quite a few members are gone off the squad. The next match will be Sunday, March the 2nd, 4 p.m. New Zealand time versus Adelaide at, thank God, Porirua Park. Adelaide have been a much better team than they were last season. Last season, they were really shocking. This season, they've been much better, but it's Porirua Park, so I have all the faith that we can beat them.
Yeah, let's get it. I think it's a good time to be playing Adelaide, especially at home. We've got 5 out of 7 of our games to finish off the season at home. I think we can totally make top 6. Lots of those games against kind of teams who are like 1 or 2 places above us, which kind of falls quite nicely for us actually to make kind of a good run into the end of the season. And if we make top 6 into the finals,
I wouldn't bet against us at home. Against anyone, we've shown that we can play and match it with the best teams in the league. So, Adelaide, I think we've got to be aiming for 3 points there. As you say, we've got this home run coming up. It's not a given, but if we play to our ability, I think we'll beat most people who come to see us. So, I think we'll beat Adelaide.
Yeah, we've beaten Adelaide once already this season at Unite Round, and that was just like a real battle of just. I feel like there was not much that was happening. It was just back and forth, and I think Maya McCutcheon goal that sealed it. But Adelaide have some good goal scorers in there. I think they have 2 on 7, 1 on 6, 1 on 5. So they're not strangers to scoring goals, and so if we're sharp, then we should be able to keep them out. We just need to take our chances and score a couple in our favoured net at Porirua Park, and we should be good to go.
So we have the advantages because this is not at, oh my God, what's the stadium that they play at home? Oh, I've completely gone. But the one that's got the funny twist in the space-time continuum, that goal that, like if you're watching on the broadcast, the one that's to the left, where it just sort of, I don't know what happens up there, but the ball our keepers just can't catch it, can't palm it. So at least we are not going to be at, it's not Service FM.
Martin.
What's it called? Doesn't matter.
Martin
Anyway.
Sports Complex?
Sorry? Martin, that's the one. God, I hate Adelaide. Anyway, so at least we are not playing Adelaide in Adelaide because we don't have an awful lot of luck there. But yes, I would be really, can't say expect, but we have to target points out of this game. All right, well, we will be back next week and we will chat about the men who we'll have plenty to chat about, I suppose, because it's Derby. Danny, enjoy the Derby. Alex, you going up this time or no? Okay, well, Danny will be there and Erin will be there too, I'm sure. Wicked. Well, enjoy everyone and matua.